Anymore.
All right, let's move on. Next thing we're going to talk about today is Madman, number 9. Madman Atomic Comics number 9. I know Pete, in particular, you don't disagree with me. I think the series is great. And the thing that I think is great about the series is that Mike Allred, every single issue is trying something new with the comic book form. A couple of issues ago, he drew every single panel in a different style of a different famous comic book artist or cartoonist. Over the course of 32 pages, which was an incredible feat, and made it work story-wise. Last issue, he had a completely silent issue, telling the story that way. This issue, which I thought was really, really cool, every single page is a splash page, double-page splash page telling the story. But
it's even cooler than that, because every page is a splash page, and they all connect.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's all one giant image, which
is amazing. And the thing that's great about it, as opposed to normally double-page splash pages, there's a ton of story there going on that's just packed into the issue. It's really cool, and I think whether you like it or not, at least he's trying things, which I think is interesting.
Okay, all right, fine. First, before you sell me up the river, I didn't say the whole series sucked. I said, just because he's trying to do something, which, hey, that's great, you know, push boundaries, do stuff, that's cool.
Change the world.
It does, yeah, that doesn't mean it's a good...
This is, just before you go on, I want to say proceeds for this comic book went to orphans.
Yeah, you trashing.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Orphans blow. I don't really think that.
No, you do. You hate. You're anti-orphan.
All right, so I just feel that, like, just because, wow, I did a whole splash page that's continuous, I just didn't think it was that great. It was like floating blue sperm mouth bad things. Like, what the hell was that?
You don't understand sexy.
You're right, because I mean, I think the series so far has been really interesting, mostly because it's so experimental.
Right.
But if you just look at it as, okay, let's not talk about the experiments for a while. What have these however many issues been about? It's a little bit of a weird...
It's about weird, tripped out shit. And it's like,
but that's what Madman has always been about. It's always been about a juxtaposition between Madman philosophizing and the action of the story going on.
Right.
So you have him fighting these blue, spermy flying things, but it's more him wondering about, you know, life and love and keeping secrets of friendship, particularly in this issue, which I think is really interesting. It's an interesting thing to deal with in a comic book.
And if that can put a piece of chicken in an orphan's mouth, I think we should all buy it.
I mean, what's up with his girlfriend? He has the 2 girlfriends now, where it's like, I like that girl, I like that girl. Smoosh. Now they're the same girl.
Yeah, he took 2 girls and made them a girl.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Is that your dream?
Yeah.
All right.
100 girls and 1 girl.
oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah, like huge, ugly, and then marry her.
That's so sweet. And that's it for the staff! It's time for our next section. This is my favorite section because it's the section you guys make up. It's your audience questions. So now we're going to bring up Boothman!
They're all going to be questions for Tom Brevoort, though, right?
Yeah. Uh-oh. You can feel those questions.
Yeah, you can be Tom.
Here we go. Question for Tom. It says it at the top. Okay, but we can adjust it, right? At what point did you realize you were more at ease being an editor than a writer?
Oh, that's tough.
When they didn't hire me as a writer.
Oh.
Nice. Next, what is wrong with DC, or what isn't wrong with them?
There's a little twist.
God.
That's written by M. Night Shyamalan. He's got a lot of time on his hands.
What do you guys think? I mean, I think this is a good topic.
Yeah.
because, this week was, you were saying, was a particularly terrible week for DC.
Yeah, boy.
Except for Action Comics, that was awesome.
No,
It's
well,
good,
not
but-
for the company, not for their comics.
DC had a tough week. We're going to talk about this later, but whatever.
Talk about it now. Spoiler.
Yeah. Chuck Dixon put a bunch of big posts on it. He was doing Batman and the Outsiders. He's like, DC, I'm not working for DC anymore. And he blames Dan DiDio.
Yeah, but
and all
that
this.
comic sucked.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying like it's bad press that he's blaming Dan DiDio for the thing.
So,
And then there's rumors going on that Dan DiDio's going to be fired. Final Crisis #1 undersold Secret Invasion #2 last month, which is a huge blow because it's their flagship thing. And
I couldn't believe
that's probably my fault, though.
because you didn't buy it.
Yeah.
Well,
One
you bought
issue.
at least 2.
Yeah, it was 1 copy short.
Because there's 2 covers.
The man,
I bought twice.
the man who destroyed DC Comics.
So why is DC sucking so much lately?
Well, I feel like
And is it sucking?
well,
I'm
I
asking
feel,
the hard-hitting questions, you guys.
I feel like the countdown thing was kind of like it was a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of stuff that really didn't pay off. That didn't pay off for them. I mean,
When it comes down to it, they're not writing stories that people want to buy right now for whatever
Well,
reason.
And I don't even think it's necessarily that people want to buy it. It's stories that appeal to a small subsection of the population. It's people that are hardcore DC fans. So it's not even hardcore comic book fans, it's hardcore DC fans. People that have an intimate knowledge of the DC universe and its continuity.
I mean, I don't have any direct insight into what goes on at DC because I don't really know anybody who works at DC. But I do read a lot of that, probably the same comic websites as you guys do. And the place where Chuck Dixon was saying, "Don't blame my editors for this," it goes up higher than that, was this really great article on Comics Should Be Good, where the guy was saying, all this stuff comes down to editorial mishandling. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but the article was pretty good, talking about how the thing you didn't mention, which was Grant Morrison going on and saying, well, I don't care if the stories don't match up. I didn't write those stories. I wrote my story. That's their problem.
Yeah, this is, Grant Morrison did an interview about Final Crisis because there were numerous things in Final Crisis #1 that completely conflicted things that had previously happened in the DC universe.
It's specifically Countdown.
Right, and Countdown and Death of the New Gods
Right.
as well. And he was essentially, I mean, you could read, obviously, into tone a lot on the internet, but really his tone came off as like, you don't get it, it's your problem, guys.
Yeah.
Which is...
yeah, well, whether or not he meant to do that, I don't know. But he does have a point. Like, he's like, I wasn't hired, you know, like they weren't like, hey, Grant, listen, before you write this one, do a little research, all right? See what's going on in the DC world. You know, like he's
You're
just
supposed
trying.
to do that, though.
Yeah, but I mean, at that point in his career, like he's just like, I have a great idea for a story. Why can't I just
No,
do it?
but that's what this article on Comics Should Be Good was saying, that Grant Morrison's big allegation against DC was, I wrote my story first. I came to them saying, here's what I'm going to do. If they had listened to me and let me do what I want and not bothered me, everything would have been fine. But then they came along and added in
Did the
these
whole
stories before
countdown.
my story that didn't fit, and that wasn't me. And so this article was saying, well, okay, that wasn't him. That should have been something that was dealt with editorially. Like, why weren't the people working on Countdown why weren't the people working on Final Crisis going to the people on Countdown going, make sure everything's in line because we don't want to screw up our comic? I don't know. Again, I don't know anything about the way DC is working right now, so I couldn't say if that's true, but that was what the article was theorizing, and it sounds pretty reasonable.
What can they do to turn it around?
I would say Trinity's got to, you know, if Trinity starts like really kind of getting things going in the DC universe, that might pick up some.
They overestimate the fans' interest in the crises and like all the crises because the first crisis was meant as a band-aid to fix all the continuity problems. So like, why go back and do it again if it was a fix that they were trying to get away with? And so now to keep doing them, people are like, I just want a good story. I don't need to know all the minutia of how it all fits together. And now they're not even getting the continuity right. So it's like a double bad.
I think what they need to do, I mean, looking over at something that I think is working very well for Marvel, is do stories, do
About
cross
Skrulls.
about Skrulls, about World War Hulk, that sort of thing. No, they should do things that are punchy one-liners. Honestly, like how do you pitch Final Crisis? Well, there's these gods and they died and then they're falling through time. You know, it's already way too long for describing it. As opposed to Secret Invasion, it's shape changers have taken over the Earth. You know, that's essentially how you boil it down. Or World War Hulk. Hulk returns to Earth and takes vengeance on superheroes. Civil War is superhero versus superhero. Very simple, easy things for people to understand and jump right in about. And I think that's what needs to be done, is not have these gigantic, spanning worldwide crossovers that DC has done across the board with everything, not just crises, but things like Millennium and whatever the thing with the aliens invading, invasion, maybe?